I mean, I figured it all out. I mean, the difference between a lot of people is I have no respect for Al Sharpton and Ben Crump. Some of you and others have respect. So my reaction to this independent autopsy is I will need cliff notes from an intelligent person because whenever Ben Crump is presenting anything, I feel like falling asleep. I feel like I have learned nothing. I don't have respect.
What's up, family? Let's talk about something that's been bothering me for a minute now. You got Ben Crump, the so called civil rights attorney, standing up at the 119th annual NAACP convention in Chicago, parading around like he just uncovered the biggest cover up since Watergate. He's got Nolan Wells' parents up there with him. He's got the NAACP president, Derek Johnson, up there, and he's about to drop this independent autopsy, quote unquote. That's supposed to blow the lid off of everything. And what did we actually get? Absolutely nothing. I mean, I sat through watching this press conference, so you don't have to. And let me tell you, family, this was one of the most embarrassing displays I've seen in a long time. And that's saying something because we've seen a lot of embarrassing displays from these people. The cause and manner of death, undetermined pending investigation. That's it. That's your big reveal. Hours of buildup, a full stage at the NAACP convention, all the dramatic music, the solemn faces, the reading off of names of every black person who's died in a controversial case since 2012. And at the end of the day, the big finding is we don't know. But here's the thing, family. They didn't tell you that undetermined, quote unquote, doesn't mean murder. It doesn't mean cover up. It doesn't mean the cops did something wrong. It means exactly what it sounds like. They couldn't determine cause of death, which, when you're dealing with a body that was recovered from open water, had already gone through an initial autopsy where organs were removed and retained, and you're doing a secondary exam on what's left, undetermined is actually the most honest answer you can give. But Ben Crump stood up there and let the audience gasp and groan and act like this was proof of something sinister. And he never once told them the truth about what that word actually means, family. And let me break down what actually happened at this press conference because it's important to understand the full picture. Ben Crump gets up there. He's got the NAACP president. He's got Nolan's parents, and he starts reading through this autopsy report. And family, I'm going to be real with you. Watching this man struggle to read basic medical terminology was painful. Here's a guy who's supposed to be one of the most prominent civil rights attorneys in the country, and he's stumbling over words that any regular person with a high school education could probably sound out. And there's a moment where he's talking about the body arriving with the organs removed, and you can hear people in the audience audibly gasp like somebody mutilated this young man. And Crump lets them sit in that reaction. He doesn't immediately say, "This is standard procedure for an autopsy. Organs are removed for examination and then retained." He lets them think something horrible happened because that's what gets the emotional reaction. That's what gets the donations. Then he goes on his long rant where he names off every controversial death you can think of: Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, uh, Bonnet and Jean, Sandra Bland, George Floyd, Tamar Rice. He runs through the whole list like he's reading a Hall of Fame induction. And I'm sitting there thinking, what does any of that have to do with Nolan Wells? Nothing. He's name dropping tragedy to associate this case with every other high profile death, hoping people will make the leap and assume that because those cases had foul play, this one must too. And that's not legal analysis. That's emotional manipulation. You don't need a law degree to see through that one.
The Nolan Wells autopsy, the independent one, was finally revealed today by Ben Crump in a big hoopla at the 119th annual NAACP convention up in Chicago. He paraded out Ben Johnson, the president of the NAACP, who lives right here in Madison, Mississippi, where I'm parked filming this video right now. Old Johnson hates white folks so damn much, allegedly, of course. He goes and lives in the richest, whitest county in the country, damn near, in Madison County. I find that hilarious. Anyway, He parades out Nolan's parents. He thanks all the people like he just won a damn award. Like he just became the president of these United States of America. Then he spends about an hour going over this damn autopsy, and we learn absolutely nothing. There's one moment where he talks about getting the body and the organs not being in there, and you can hear an audible gasp from the crowd because A, they're stupid, and B, he doesn't tell them that this is how the body came to them from the Mississippi State Crime Examiner's office, that they have to remove the organs as part of the, I don't know, what are we here for today? An autopsy. The crowd's like, you can hear it. He goes, this is normal for an autopsy. He has to tell these idiots because, well, he's pandering and baiting them into this. Long story short, there is nothing that suggests that there was any foul play involved in this at all. It's all just a bunch of very vague little, well, why didn't this, why didn't that, this is inconclusive, so it must be murder type nonsense. What we learned today is what we already knew. Ben Crump is a grifter, an idiot, and a racist, and he's out to make as much money for him as possible. Prayers to Nolan Wells. I'm out on his family. They're right along for the ride. You know, frankly, I said this on my radio show this morning. Why would you suspect foul play less than a day into this and get Ben Crump? It's almost like the investigation maybe, possibly, could point back to the family more than the guys he was out on the boat with.
Boat is being questioned by many. We're trying to dot every I and cross every T because we understand that when our children's lives are at stake, it matters. Not just what happened, but what we do in the aftermath of them being taken away from us. And just like the NAACP stood up when another tragedy in Mississippi taking the life of young Emmett Till, we will stand up for Nolan Wells. Just like the NAACP and civil rights leaders stood up when another Mississippi son was taken in Medgar Evers. We will stand up for Nolan Wells. And just like too many of our young people, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, Terrence Crutcher, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland, Atiana Jefferson, Alton Sterling, Eric Gardner, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, the young people who I was trying to focus on. Gary, we stand up until we get the truth, until we get justice for Nolan Wells. 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 And others, this is so important that we continue to talk about Nolan Wells and what happened to him, and that we get attention on him, because in getting attention on him, it brings attention, Cliff Jones, to other cases that are not getting their attention as of yet. But I'm so grateful to Christine and Elmore, because they said whatever we can do, not only to help our son, but to help these other young black boys who was killed the July 4th holiday. Tyler Smith on 4th of July was at a house party with about 10 other people. He was the only black person at the house. He somehow ends up shot in the head, dead. Some of the friends get rid of the gun. The police show up. They tell the police it was an accident. It was an accidental shooting, that they were playing Russian roulette. And Tyler Smith ended up getting killed. And apparently, Christine Clark, President Johnson, the police just took their word. It makes no sense whatsoever. So they are taking the word of these 10 people that your son just killed himself. And you don't have to worry about doing any investigation or testing forensically anything. Just take our word for it. Now, can you imagine in any 3 of these scenarios, had the survivors been young black men and they were with a young white man and he ended up dead, what kind of investigation would that have been? What kind of interrogation would that have been? Would they have ever been able to see the light of day until those questions were answered? Well, just like you would do a thorough investigation for your children, we want you to do a thorough investigation for our children.
All right, family, and then the autopsy finding themselves. Let me lay this out in plain English, because the independent autopsy found a 12 by 8-inch area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissue at the back of his head. Nolan Wells. That sounds scary until you understand what that means. No laceration, no fractures, no skull damage, just a red mark. And the report itself says the red discoloration can happen when bodies are recovered from open water, currents, waves, underwater debris. All of that can cause post-mortem changes to the body. That's not evidence of an attack. That's evidence of a body being in water. Every other major area they examined, the face, the neck, the ribs, the pelvis, the back, the arms, the legs, no fractures, no evidence of deep tissue injury anywhere. But here's what they conveniently left out of the dramatic representation, or presentation, I should say, right? They conveniently left out dramatically within this presentation, because this was a secondary autopsy performed after the initial autopsy had already removed and retained organs. The independent examiners couldn't properly check for drowning, and they couldn't check the airways. They couldn't check the lungs. They couldn't check the stomach for water content. They couldn't check the neck structures the way they would have wanted to, because those structures were already removed in the first autopsy from the state. So they're working with an incomplete picture and then acting like the inconclusive result is suspicious. That's like basically you writing a paper for English class, and then you don't have no supportive details, let alone cited your sources, but then you come up with a conclusion in regards of there's not enough sources to conclude the paper. But you never had credible sources to begin with. That's not how honest investigation works. That's how you manufacture doubt when you don't have any real evidence, if you ask me.
I told you, bro. All he's going to do is keep the implications alive. That's all he's doing right now. That's it. Death undetermined pending investigation, because you inquired a grand jury. Like, so there's still investigation. You're reporting that, it was bruising on his head. Like, people have literally drowned in that water like that. Like, so what are you, there is no cause of death. There is no homicide. Nothing happened to him. He's just keeping this shit alive. Then he's implying that they couldn't get the results because of the first autopsy. And like I said, people have exhumed corpses from years, like after decades of decay, and still found the cause of death. You can't tell me that the first autopsy made it impossible for the second autopsy to come to a conclusion. There's a reason that the doctor didn't come. That's what I want you to focus on. The doctor didn't come. They gave his credential, but he did not show up. The doctor himself did not come to this. If he believed there was something, he would have came, bro. Ben Crump just conned all of y'all. Said, oh, the autopsy results will be on bencrump.com. Thank Colin Kaepernick. This is a whole, bro, this is political theater, nigga. They just clowned y'all.
Conference where he released the findings of their independent autopsy on the body of Nolan Wells. And in this video, I'm going to fill you in on all the important parts. Now, if you have a dog in this fight already, you have your bias. None of this information is going to change your mind. I will say, though, watching Ben Crump struggle over certain words that you should know as an attorney, because me as a regular guy, I understand these words. Watching him struggle to take that information up in real time and then convey it to the audience was not good. And it was kind of awkward. I've never seen a Ben Crump press conference like this, but there's no reason why an attorney that some people hold to such a high standard struggles that much with this basic information. I think when it comes to some sort of presentation like this, you need to practice it. You need to be able to go over it so you can, I don't know, see certain words that maybe you don't understand, look them up, understand them, so you can convey the message easier to the audience, because it seemed like he was being surprised by some of this information in real time. It's just not a good look. One of the situations that kind of sticks out to me was where he talked about how the organs were removed, right? Because they put them in a bag. And you could hear somebody in the audience visibly like scream like, oh my God, thinking that he got mutilated, when that's just common practice when it comes to an autopsy. So that's what's going on. All right, so remember, guys, this was the second autopsy, right? The independent autopsy that started on July 10th. They called it a post-initial autopsy, right? With organs removed and some neck structures absent. I'll get into that here more in a second. Now, the explicit ruling, right? Cause and manner of death are both undetermined pending investigation. Now, a lot of people saw this as a big gotcha moment because the cause and manner of death, right, in this autopsy are undetermined. And a lot of people look back to when Nolan Wells' body was first discovered, and they heard local law enforcement say that they didn't see any evidence of foul play. It looked like he drowned, not knowing that they still have to do an autopsy, right? They still have to do their autopsy, okay? So it wasn't like it was an open and shut case. The only notable abnormality was a 12 by 8 inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissue of the back of the head. No laceration, no fractures, and the origin of that red mark is unknown. Now, it is worth noting that red discoloration or post-mortem injuries can be seen in bodies recovered from open water, particularly when ocean currents, waves, and underwater debris are involved. That's important. When it came to every other major dissection, bilateral face, posterior head, neck, ribs, pelvis, subcutaneous deep tissues of the back, buttocks, arms, and legs, no fractures and no evidence of deep tissue injury were found. So remember, the initial autopsy removed and retained some organs, brains, retained anterior neck structures, right? So the second exam, this exam, right, the independent autopsy, is incomplete for neck trauma or drowning confirmation because they cannot check airways and lungs, and they can't check the stomach for water contents and those sorts of things. And apparently there's no toxicology available in either of these autopsies. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Aside from the discoloration on the back of his head, that's red. Remember, no lacerations or fractures. I mean, this wouldn't really tell us anything. In fact, it seems like he was kind of okay. Now, again, we need to see what was going on with, the neck structure so we can see if he was choked or something like that. But I guess we're gonna have to wait for the first autopsy to come out and whatnot. But I'm sure they're gonna do like a real thorough investigation and hopefully give us a toxicology report, because that would really say a lot.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, right? Because the United States Conja Navy, the actual search and rescue organization that helped recover Nolan's body, has now publicly called out Ben Crump for misrepresenting information. They came out and said that Nolan was not fully clothed when his body was found, which is what Crump had been implying to make it seem suspicious. They said he was dressed the way someone would be for a day of swimming. He had his swim trunks on. That's it. Meanwhile, Crump had been out there pushing the narrative that Nolan was fully clothed, wondering why he would have his shirt and pants on if he was just swimming, trying to make people think something happened to him before he went into the water. And the United Cajun Navy said, no, that's not what happened. That's the second time an organization has had to call him out. The first time he shared a photo of Nolan in a pool at someone's house, claiming it was taken after he went missing, trying to paint a picture that something was off. That turned out to be false too. So now we have a pattern here, and you have a man who is supposed to be seeking the truth, but he keeps sharing things that aren't true. And when you hold him up next to the actual search and rescue team that recovered the body and they're saying he's wrong, you have to ask yourself, is he really seeking justice or is he seeking attention and donations?
The United Cajun Navy just called out civil rights attorney Ben Crump, the man who was working for Nolan Wells' family, for their search for answers about his passing, and they're saying that he is miscommunicating information that the United Cajun Navy has obtained to the public. According to the United Cajun Navy, they're saying that Nolan was not fully clothed in the traditional sense when his body was recovered. Instead, they say that he was dressed as someone would be for a day swimming. He wasn't fully clothed, they said. He was just clothed. He wasn't undressed. He still had his swim trunks on. This is now the second organization to call out Ben Crump for misrelaying information to the public when it comes to this case. First, it was him sharing a photo of Nolan in a pool at someone's house. He was trying to say that this was taken after Nolan went missing on July 4th. That ended up not being true. Now he's sharing that Nolan was fully clothed and wondering when Nolan got on the boat to put his shirt back on and his clothes back on. That's turning out to not be true. I definitely respect what he's trying to do by helping Nolan's family and their search for answers, but you can't say that you're trying to uncover the truth while also sharing things that are not true. It's just confusing everyone, and I'm sure Nolan's family does not appreciate that, especially because they're paying this guy. The United Cajun Navy has also just posted that they have been sent a new photograph that appears to show Nolan in the water near Horn Island on July 4th, 2026. They're asking the person who originally captured this photo or video to come forward to them so that they can, one, obtain the original file, and two, verify the timestamp. They're saying that this could provide valuable information for their ongoing investigation. As I shared earlier, the preliminary autopsy report did not show any clear signs of foul play, at least not on the private autopsy that was done on Nolan's body. But of course, we still have that first autopsy from the medical examiner's report that's working with the state. We don't have the information from that yet, along with the toxicology report, but hopefully we do have that soon so that more clarity is made. As more updates come out, I'll be sure to share with you guys. What are your thoughts on all of this? Let me know in the comments.
So let me tell you what I think is really going on here. The NAACP is seeing donations dry up. The SPLC is seeing donations dry up. These organizations built their entire business model around racial grievance, are watching people wake up and stop giving them money. So they need a new case and they need a new tragedy they can milk. And along comes Nolan Wells, a tragic death, a young black man, circumstances that are unclear, a family that's grieving and looking for answers, and that's the perfect recipe for them. They don't need evidence. They don't need proof. They just need the implication. And they need to keep the question mark alive because as long as people are asking what really happened to Nolan Wells, they can keep fundraising. They can keep holding press conferences. They can keep selling the narrative that the system is corrupt. And only they can fight for justice. But the thing is, family, real justice doesn't need a press conference at the NAACP convention. Real justice doesn't need you to name drop every tragic death from the last 15 years to make your point. And real justice lets the evidence speak for itself. And in this case, the evidence says what it says, undetermined. That's not a conspiracy. That's not a cover up. That's the honest reality of a case where a young man went into the water and didn't come out. And the body was too compromised for definitive ruling after the fact. And here's the life wisdom in all of this. And I want you to really hear this in regards of Matthew chapter 7, verses 15 through 16 in the Bible. It says, be aware or beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Now I'm gonna break it down in plain language. Jesus is telling us to watch out for people who look like they're on your side, who talk like they're fighting for you, who use all the right language and stand behind all the right podiums, but their real goal is to take from you. And you know them by their fruits. And what are their fruits of Ben Crump's work? What are the actual results? He's been doing this for decades now. Have black communities gotten safer? Have black families gotten wealthier? And have black kids gotten better educations? Or is it just more press conferences, more fundraising, more names read off like a roll call of tragedy? And the fruit of his work is more division, more donations to him, and more grief exploited for personal gain. And the same thing applies to all of these organizations that parade at grieving families and using their pain as a fundraising tool. You know them by their fruits. If the fruit is peace, unity, understanding, and real solutions, then that's a good tree. If the fruit is anger, division, more questions, more fundraising, more finger pointing without any real answers, then you know exactly what kind of tree you're dealing with. And for those of you who aren't spiritual, here's the same lesson in practical terms. In any situation, look at the results. Don't look at the words. Don't look at the titles. Don't look at the credentials. Look at what actually happens after people get involved. Does the situation get better? Does the family actually get closure? And does the community actually get help? Or does the circus just keep rolling from one case to the next with the same faces showing up at every press conference, using the same language, asking for the same donations, and leaving behind the same unresolved questions? And that's how you spot a grift. And that's how you protect yourself from being used. You look at the track record, you look at the outcomes, and you ask yourself, who's actually benefiting here? Because in this case, the answer is clear. The Wells family is still grieving. Nolan is still gone, unfortunately. The questions are still unanswered, but Ben Crump got his stage. The NAACP got their headlines, and the donations are still rolling in. And that's the fruit. And it's not good fruit because it really isn't. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The next time you see a tragedy on the news and you see certain names attached to it, certain organizations getting involved, and certain attorneys standing at podiums with grieving families, I want you to pause before you open your wallet. I want you to ask yourself, what is this actually going to produce? Is it going to lead to real answers, real justice, real change, or is it going to lead to another press conference, another fundraising drive, another round of anger and division that leaves everybody exactly where they started, except a little bit poorer and a little bit more bitter? Because that's the pattern. And that's been the pattern for decades. And the only way it stops is when people like you and me decide to stop funding it. And we can honor Nolan Wells without falling for the grift, and we can pray for his family without donating to people who use grief as a business model. And we can demand real answers from real investigations without buying into the circus. That's the takeaway. That's the wisdom. Don't let your emotions be weaponized against your own best interest. And keep your eyes open, keep your heart soft, but your mind sharp. And remember, you know them by their fruits always. So let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those post notifications. Spread that peace, love, and positivity, and let the love supersede the hate, family. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.